going on, YouTube? Culturedog Sam Hatch back with another Blu-ray Spotlight review, and I was meaning to get this one out last week, but many apologies for teasing it and then taking a couple days to get it out there. But I got a screener copy in of Zombie Fight Club. Yeah, Scream Factory is releasing this over here in the States, and it is definitely an interesting flick. Certainly with a title like Zombie Fight Club, you're expecting a certain pedigree, or at least a certain thematic element that may or may not be in the flick. So let's check out what's in store for us with Zombie Fight Club. So this film is written and directed by Chien, who had done another film called Zombie 108, which is, I haven't seen it, but it's equally over the top and insane, and some people hate it, some people love it. And this was originally a planned sequel to it, and this is now maybe like a sideways sequel or just another film altogether. But it does take place in Taiwan, in Taipei, where a zombie outbreak has taken over, and the beginning of the film starts off with a lot of computer graphics that really look like cutscenes from a Squaresoft video game or something like that. So, and that is definitely the downfall of this movie, is the CG. But it definitely wears a lot of influences on its sleeves. It starts off, it's really two movies rolled into one. It starts off as a pretty blatant rip of, the Raid Redemption or Dread, if you want. It all takes place, for the first hour at least, within this high-rise apartment building. And the setup of the film is introducing you to all these characters, largely kicked off by a delivery girl, who of course has most of her goods hanging out, as do most of the female stars of this film. And so we're introduced in short time to a kidnapping gone wrong with Philip Ng as a guy holding this dude. He quickly cuts off his ear. So there's a lot of nastiness going on in that suite. There's another apartment with a bunch of Westerners just partying, and there's one with couple people welcoming in a rapper played by MC Hotdog. That's literally his real name. He just released his album, and he's coming to party with his friends and do ecstasy. And ecstasy is actually part of the reason the zombie outbreak happens. There's an old man, and then the other main stories are involving a teacher and his daughter, and the students of his that are also friends with his daughter that are coming over for his daughter's birthday party. And then the invading force in this is a police squadron led by Michael Wong, who is definitely not a quality person himself. And it's a film of pretty much shady and or outright horrible characters. So you don't feel too bad when a zombie outbreak happens and starts spreading throughout the building. That even goes as far back as maybe Demons 2 or something like that. And once that happens, there's a lot of, there's some gunfights, there's some, fist fights, martial arts on display. And Andy Owen is in here as one of the, kind of rare good people in the film. He's part of the police squad, but he doesn't feel great about, going against orders and possibly busting into this building to, steal money and or drugs or something like that. So it's him largely, and then Jessica C's character. She's hanging out in the pad where the rappers are hanging out and celebrating, and she runs around in a bra for the entire film. even when she's not under in distress, that's just her look. Bra totally exposed at all times. So the film is completely shameless in that tack. So if that's something you're looking for, something grisly, silly, completely over the top, and with tons of cheesecake, then this is right up your alley. It will divide fans. Obviously, anyone coming at this film looking for some sort of stellar piece of acting and directing and writing isn't going to be happy with it. But for Gorehound fans, you're still going to be divided, because the film is still kind of like a hot mess. That whole story takes about an hour, and then all of a sudden, it just stops, and then almost becomes the sequel. Like the last 30 minutes or so are essentially what you would imagine Zombie Fight Club 2 would be. It takes place, in the future, and one of the characters is now like a very governor-esque character from Walking Dead, obsessed with a family member who's now a zombie and is holding these fights within his realm. So hence the Zombie Fight Club that you've been waiting an hour to see finally kind of unravels. But As far as any thematic connections to David Fincher's Fight Club or anything that conjures in your imagination from just seeing the title, no, none of that's in there. Nor is this outfit, as far as I can tell, in the film either, with the kind of, leather-clad vixen on the cover, straight out of Underworld or Resident Evil or something like that. That's not really indicative of the film itself. So it's mostly Andy Owen and Jessica C. Running around trying to escape this place and then trying to survive the kind of aftermath, the post-apocalyptic aftermath that rolls in later on. And the film distracts a lot of people, apparently, because it jumps in and out of Mandarin and English. And not an accented English, an American accented English. And most of that's because most of these actors are actually Americans. Jessica C., I believe, and I think Philip Ng as well are from the Midwest. And Andy Owen is like Rhode Island. And they're all, actors who ended up moving over to Hong Kong to get involved in the Hong Kong film scene. And even Michael Wong, as much of a veteran he is of the scene, I think he's originally from New York City. So everybody is capable of just doing pure English at a given moment. And I don't even know if Jessica C., I don't think Michael Wong or Jessica C. speaks Mandarin fluently. So yeah, the cool thing about it is that you can have the option to have subtitles throughout the entire film in English or just in the Mandarin section. So that didn't really bother me at all. So the film, I think its biggest drawback is the CG. The makeup effects are actually really fantastic. I like the kind of zombie creature effects, and I like the distinct look of them all. I thought it was really good, and unfortunately that angle is let down with some of the CG stuff. Like early on, there's a siege bit and explosions happen, and it's just like somebody put like a cheap, fire effect over a door. You never get a feel that the door really exploded. And that's kind of one of the things about the CG blood and everything that lets me down as a fan of exploitation film, is that the whole idea is to capture that whoa moment. And I remember starting back, probably maybe Zatoichi, the Takeshi version was the first time I saw like an overuse of CGI blood. And that's the one thing I noticed is it can be completely wild and insane and over the top, but it's always missing that whoa kind of element to it. And that's some of the stuff here. It's not quite as bad as Sharknado or any of the Asylum movies on Sci-Fi Channel, but it's not that much better either. And then a lot of the kind of visual splendor of the kind of outside world where the apocalypse is happening is kind of video game quality. So, and in fact, there's some special features on here that shows them filming this, and it's amazing just how much more of an impact just the straight, ungraded, like, shots of stuff actually happening is. It's already, like, more enthralling than, the final product. But you still might have a good time with it. It's not pretending to be anything greater than what it is, but it is definitely structured very strange and odd, and you don't get a real great feel for a lot of the characters. Some of the bits with the teacher character takes its time eventually, but in the beginning everything just moves very quickly and everyone's pretty much expendable. There's some funny bits here and there too. It must have been a reference to Supernatural. There's a great scene with the older man is being attacked by a zombie and he's holding at bay with his walker, and he tells his, I believe it was his maid, to get rid of it, and she pours salt on it. And he's like, why are you pouring salt? She's like, well, it said that would expel the demons in the TV show. So that was pretty clever. There's some other cute bits in there here and there. But yeah, it's definitely not a must-have, but if you're a gore hound, you might want to check it out to satisfy your curiosity for sure. Video quality is mixed bag. I mean, I believe it was shot digitally. The detail is really, really stunning. So, you can walk right up to the screen and see some amazing detail on characters' faces, or even the early scene where there's a frying pan. You can see the texture on the surface of the frying pan. That stuff was really impressive. On the negative side, I mentioned before about how some of the behind-the-scenes stuff was more impactful than the finished film, and a lot of that's due to the color grading. It was just really aggressively filtered, and not selectively filtered either. It's just completely awash in this sickly-looking kind of greenish blue, or maybe sometimes yellowish depending on the scene. So, I mean, there's scenes where it's almost just tough to watch, where there's a character that's completely in white, and it's just this nasty-looking, vile sea green or something like that. So that was really distracting and took away from the sharpness of the visuals. That said, other than that, I didn't have any problems with the technical delivery of it. There was a couple times where the shadow detail wasn't fantastic and blacks kind of went blue, but it's a very modern digital looking film, and I mean the CG effects tend to look a little cheesy, but that's not really a fault of the transfer. It's just inherent in the source material. Audio was pretty enveloping for the most part, especially mostly in the gunfights and stuff. There wasn't a lot of killer low like LFE material, but I only listened to a little bit of the English DTS-HD Master audio track. They're both 5.1. There's 2.0 versions of either too, but I listened to the Mandarin one for the most part, which actually does jump it back and forth from Mandarin to English, and you can select subtitle it a number of different ways. But it was definitely enveloping in terms of gunfights and things moving around you within the confines of this apartment complex, and occasionally some explosions would happen that would have some low-end rumble. Yeah, so not bad at all. Special features are rather light. There's the trailer, and then there's a little bit about, behind-the-scenes piece, a little short featurette showing a lot of the stunts and stuff. And it's funny just how engaging that is, and seeing some of the characters fighting, and it almost gives you a glimpse at another less heavily filtered movie, more practical effects, how it could have been and how effective it could have been. I mean, there's even a scene where they kind of drive a car out of a building, and it looks pretty cheesy in the finished product, but it was actually kind of interesting and good looking in the featurette. So yeah, I definitely would have liked to have seen more, Andy on fight scenes and that sort of thing, and focus more on that. So yeah, no commentary tracks or anything, and no performances from MC Hotdog or anything like that. So yeah, not really much to speak of for special features. So yeah, overall, I kind of wish it was more focused on the fights and the zombies and fighting. That could have been something really interesting, but those elements are just kind of disparate parts. Yeah, there's a big fight scene in an open environment with a bus and all that sort of stuff, and that's pretty interesting, but I definitely could have used a lot more of that and a lot more practical effects, less CG blood and explosions and stuff like that. But again, the makeup effects I was really impressed with, so it's definitely a mixed bag on those fronts. But yeah, you might want to check this out and determine for yourself what you think of Zombie Fight Club. So yeah, we'll see what Joe Chien has in store next. Maybe Zombie Fight Club 2 or something like that. But again, if you're coming at this from the perspective of, hey, I love Fight Club and I love zombies, can't wait to see them mashed up together, the name is a total misnomer, and that's really not what's going on here at all. So hope you guys had fun, and we'll talk to you soon. I got some more Blu-ray Spotlight reviews coming up very shortly, so we'll talk in a minute.